Morning. I'm Dennis, and it is my pleasure to serve as this morning's worship associate for this service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Charlotte County, Florida. We're also, or usually known as UUFCC. First, I will ask you to please silence your telephones, and I will remind you to turn them back on at the end of the service. This service is being broadcast via YouTube. Consequently, to respect and protect everyone's privacy, it will be our practice to use only first names and, when helpful, last initials. I wish to express my gratitude for our technology wizards, Tom, Corey, and Doug, who helps out with the tech all the time. And thanks for those who are serving as greeters and those who prepared snacks and have set up for our post-service time together. Also, I'd like to express my very special thanks to Margaret and the choir for the special music that we'll have this morning. And I'd like to remind you of just a couple simple procedures that will help our broadcast and real-time service run more smoothly. For those who are watching via YouTube, you may wish to have a chalice or a candle available for our chalice lighting ritual. If you are visiting for the first time, please stand or raise your hand and then tell us your first name and where you're from so we can greet you following the service. And if you have not done so, please see one of our greeters following the service, and they will take your personal information, your phone address, etc., if you wish, if you're interested. Now I have, this has been a very positive experience. Recognize the new people. Yep, we're going to do that. Yeah, okay. Okay, so if you're new here for the first time, would you raise your hand or stand up? And there's Tom, and he'll.
Check.
Hello, I was late, but my name's Andrea. I'm from Punta Gorda. I think that's what you asked. Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here. I was a little late, but I'm glad I made it.
My name's Cindy. I'm from Punta Gorda, or Port Charlotte, sorry. Been here about 10 years now, but first time here.
Very good, very good. Thank you. Long way to go. Just my exercise.
I'm Bernie. I'm a UU from Peoria, Illinois. I've been here before, but it's been a couple of years, and this is my first time back.
Anybody else? Oh.
Hi, I'm Jackie. This is my husband Adam and our sons Adam and Zach. We live in Englewood. We've been here for almost 6 years. I was raised in a UU church in Franklin, Massachusetts, and just felt like a good idea to be here.
Excellent. Okay.
All of you, welcome, and I hope you return. And I'm sorry I forgot to do it. Now I get to introduce Caitlin. Caitlin Duchesne will be speaking to us this morning. She's originally from Illinois, but has lived in Florida for about 3 years. Once here, she quickly began working with local volunteer groups. She helped with groups such as Sarasota Pride and LALAC, which is the new program that Betty's is involved in. She's currently volunteering with PFlag, Port Charlotte, as their secretary, and with Array to run a youth, and I had to ask what this was, D&D program. Anybody know what that is? Yes, it's Dungeons and Dragons. She is also a librarian at the Punta Gorda Library, and she works there to create programs such as LGBTQ history, English as a second language tutoring, as well as forming community partnerships and local organizations. It is a real privilege to have contact with her over the last couple weeks and to have her speak this morning. And I want to correct the title in your order of service. It says it's a celebration it's a celebration, but it's really queer history. And I'm sorry for that mistake. We are a progressive and inclusive spiritual community. We value the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, and offer a caring and diverse religious community guided by intelligence, reason, conscience, and compassion. We encourage intellectual inquiry, foster growth, and prompt social justice and environmental responsibility. Our welcome is genuine. And now, if you will rise in body and or spirit and sing hymn number 346, Come Sing a Song with Me. And now we have an opportunity to center as Margaret plays the harp. The lighting of the chalice is a ritual that unites Unitarian Universalists everywhere. It is a symbol of so many of our values: love, guidance, courage, sacrifice, illumination, passion, and the light of community. No single interpretation is sacrosanct over others. Like our faith, they are all inclusive and accepted. And now, as Randy lights our flame, please recite the chalice lighting recitation printed in your order of service. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our aspiration, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. Our next hymn is number 1051 in the Teal Book. Please rise in body and or spirit. The reading this morning is from Norman Cousins. It is entitled, "The Body is Humankind." I am a single cell in a body of 4 billion cells. The body is humankind. I am a single cell. My needs are individual, but they are not unique. I am interlocked with other human beings in the consequences of our actions, thoughts, and feelings. I will work for human unity, human peace, for moral order in harmony with the order of the universe. Together, we share the quest for a society of the whole equal of our needs. a society in which we need not live beneath our moral capacity and in which justice has a life of its own. We are single cells in a body of 4 billion cells. The body is mankind. We have a long tradition at UUFCC of sharing our joys and sorrows and life milestones by entering them into the Book of Life. The book is held back at that table as you enter on the right. Thank you, Robert. Thanks. If you aren't planning to be in the sanctuary on a Sunday morning, you may email your joys and sorrows and personal milestones to bookoflife@uufcc.org. Messages should be sent no later than Saturday prior to the service, and during the Sunday morning service, following the receipt of your message, the worship associate will read your words to the congregation, and following the service, transcribe the message into the Red Book. In our tradition, we revere the living of our lives as a sacred endeavor, believing that the joys and sorrows we experience hallow the living of our days. So in a mood of prayer and meditation, I will now read from the Book of Life. Happy belated birthday to Charles Darwin. His work on the origin of species changed our whole view of the tree of life. We are all related, humans, animals, all life. I celebrate our kinship. Joseph Fenty. Now, in the spirit of respectful witness, I invite you to share a brief glimpse of the joys and sorrows of your life through the ritual of dropping stones into water. First, you will come up to the mic and then circle round and pick up the stone in the small bowl on the little table and then drop it into the water. So first we're going to share and then pick up and then drop. The compassion of this congregation falls as softly as stones through the water, surrounding our loved ones and friends in a quiet embrace. If you would like to participate in this ritual, please come forward and speak into the microphone again. 1, pick up a stone, tell us your first name and what your joy or sorrow is, and then drop it into the water.
Yeah, whatever steps. Hi, I'm Jane. I'm just overjoyed today. My community in Punta Gorda was hit really badly from the surges in Ian. We lost our roofs in Ian. We lost our cars in Helene. And with the surges, we lost all the furniture for our waiting area. And right now it's amalgam of all these chairs people have put down. It looks horrible. And 3 of us volunteered to help pick out the furniture. And trying to get 4 floors of people to agree on something is rather hard. And I'm learning to negotiate a little bit. And today at 1 o'clock, we are picking up the furniture that people voted on and the art, and that's the fun part. Second thing is, my Prius, I had a younger friend who's techie savvy, put all the rock stations I like in my phone, in my car, and I lost all of that. So I figured out how to put some of them in, but I couldn't figure out how to put NPR, which I've missed for months since the hurricane surges. And I figured it out yesterday because somebody here told me. You'd think it wouldn't be very hard, but I kept forgetting. And I'm just so glad I got to listen to the Moth Hour and all these good programs. So I'm so excited. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Jackie, and I got to tell you about a joy. The other day, I called our senator, our Republican senator from Florida, and I gave him a royal piece of my mind. And then I called his Tallahassee office and gave him another royal opinion on my mind. So, yes.
Hi there. I'm Mary Holly, and some of you know me. I've been a member here since, 2003. It's 2004, so over 20 years. But it's always a joy to be back. My husband and I live in Tucson, but I come back and forth. I'm here for a particular reason today that's very important to me. My dear friend of over 40 years, Linda Poindexter, who some of you also know, who's been a member here and has had the honor of blessing us the privilege. She shared her beautiful singing voice with us in the past, but I am taking her tomorrow to Vermont, where she will be moving in to be into assisted living to be near her son who lives up there. So she's pretty excited about that, but we wanted to come and say goodbye. And the other thing that's important to me to publicly acknowledge has been the people that have been so helpful as I've returned here to help her son get ready. Oh, and I had to say, he said the truck has arrived and her furniture is offloaded in her new place. So that was a thing he just texted me this morning. But lastly, I wanted to thank and acknowledge the people that have been so helpful to her. Jane Merriam is not a member here, but some of you know her in the larger community. She has taken care of Linda in many, many ways and been a big support. We're staying with her now. But this week, I'm so honored. Ginger Abraham has been there to help. Lori Douglas was a super packer, and Laura and Don Learman. We just wouldn't have been able to be ready for the truck to pick up without them. So I want to acknowledge that and thank you. You never know when you say, can anybody help? And they were just like, yes. And I was, of course, in tears. So that is my gratitude and joy. Thank you so much.
My name is Stephanie, and I'm very pleased that we are having this service today. Means a lot to me. As a past president and co-president of this congregation back in 2004, yes, my co-president was transgendered, and no one batted an eyelash. She was also an ordained minister and a Wiccan. So it was all of the above, and she found her place here. I remember well, as co-presidents, we decided, why not just hang up the gay pride flag? And she said, well, should we bring it up with the board? I said, no, we're the co-presidents, and we did it, and that was the beginning of who we've become today, and I'm very pleased. Thank you.
Good morning. Peggy Dunn made me promise to behave today. My name is Robert. I have a update on Jonathan. He's been going through kidney dialysis, and he has an appointment. He's trying to get strong enough to have a heart procedure up in Key Largo. And he's scheduled to go talk to the surgeon on Tuesday. So wish him luck that he's okayed for a heart valve put in. Okay, and I want to give an update on the International Tag Police report, but there's a lot of big uproar in France in that organization, and but I'll fill you in on open mic night next Friday because it's quite a bit of drama. Thank you.
Good morning, Patrick E. I have many joys. One is my husband who drove me here, Michael, today for this service. The 19th, Wednesday, I had my back procedure, and it's coming along good. I'll go tomorrow to get the drain out of my back. That's been fine to go home with that. An excellent service at Sarasota Memorial. They were very good. And so I wanted to mention last week, so happy to see Margaret and the choir growing. It is such a joy. Yes. Okay.
I did it backwards. This stone represents those joys and sorrows that remain unspoken, but are held in our hearts. May we hold all these and one another in love and tenderness so that this fellowship continues to be a source of strength and comfort and courage and hope in the days ahead. Now let us take a few moments of silent meditation. Shalom.
Don't mind me. I'm not here.
And now I'd like to ask Laurie to come forward. And although it's not in your order of service, we have the joy of welcoming a new member this morning.
Thank you.
Here in this church, human beings have gathered for centuries, seeking a higher purpose and deeper life than they could find alone. We are grateful today for each one of you that have found your way here and that you have decided to make a commitment to this faith. The relationships we form in our fellowship are based on needs of the heart and soul, needs that render each of us vulnerable and therefore reliant on each other's grace and goodness and generosity of spirit in difficult times. As members of this fellowship, we pledge to be guardians of each other's spirits, to respect the ultimate privacy of each one's human struggle, and to believe in each other's inherent dignity.
Jane and hello, Jane and Mary, please come on up. Okay. Today we welcome into our community these new members who have chosen to make a commitment to this congregation by signing our membership book and abiding by our UUFCC covenant. Jane and Mary, we are so glad to have you here with us and that you have chosen this community of fellow seekers to travel with you on your life's journey. Will you accept our gifts of fellowship, discovery, and service? Will you offer us your unique presence and gifts? Will you add your name to the long history of Unitarian Universalist people who spread hope with our living faith? Will you engage with us as we seek to create a community and a world dedicated to love and justice? If so, say we will.
We will.
Congregation, let's try it again. We'll switch. Congregation, okay. Congregation, will you welcome these new members with the warmth and comfort of your fellowship? Will you seek to add strength and talents to the new gifts they bring to us? Will you share our triumphs and our struggles as our community grows and changes? And you would say, we will.
We will.
Good.
It's a dance.
Let us say together again the covenant of this church, the promise that we make each week to ourselves and to each other, which holds our community together with common purpose and common love in the midst of our beautiful diversity of life, of belief. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our great commitment, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. Thank you. Welcome. Yeah. Jackie, you bring the flowers? Thank you. Great. Welcome.
Thank you, Robert.
And now I'll invite Caitlin to the pulpit.
Don't clap yet. Haven't given the speech yet. I'm tall. So, I'd like everyone to know I practice at home. If the timings don't work out, it's not my fault. Alright. So, my name is Caitlin Duchesne, and I'm here to tell you a story today. Before I begin, I want to mention two things. One is my use of the word queer to describe the LGBTQIA community. There may be some of you who do not use such words, and it's understandable that you don't. As in the past, the word queer has often been used in a derogative way. Recently, though, it's begun to be used as part of the community in a way that is positive and full of joy. For me, I find that empowering. Additionally, I find the word queer to be more inclusive than the word gay or the acronym LGBTQIA. Using the word gay often brings to mind specific sexuality of an individual, which may leave out those whose sexuality, such as pansexual, demisexual, asexual, and so on, don't quite fit into. Moreover, it leaves out those who are experiencing gender as something that's different than being cisgender. As for the LGBTQIA acronym, my reluctance to use that is often traced directly to my profession. As a librarian, we're almost always about making sure information is accessible to all. Oftentimes, when acronyms are used, it can be frustrating, except for those who are part of the community. This happens professionally and then also happens out in the world with LGBTQIA. For instance, if I were to ask you, as a librarian, to go look up the ILL on the Mark computer and it's from a PLA library, you'd look at me like I was crazy. You were like, what are you talking about? So having those acronyms removed makes it more accessible, and this is why I choose to use the word queer, because it's more inclusive. Additionally, LGBTQIA recently has had a bit of kerfuffle with what exactly the LGBTQIA means. Does that A stand for asexuality? Does it stand for aromantic? Does it stand for agender? Or does it stand for ally? To not have to deal with that kerfuffle, I choose to use queer for that reason. Secondly, before I begin my story, I'd like to offer a gentle warning. This story does include references to assault and discriminatory violence, which may be difficult for some to hear. Please feel free to step away if you need to. Your well-being comes first. Come on. There we go. This is a story about a little girl born in New Jersey in the 1940s. Her mother was a housekeeper and her father a factory worker for General Motors. They didn't have much, but despite that, she was a happy child, a child who laughed and played alongside her 6 siblings. She went to church with her family, and she found joy in the simple things. One of the things that gave her the most joy was slipping into her mother's dresses and feeling the soft, bright fabric swish against her legs. She'd close her eyes, and she'd twirl and twirl and twirl. She'd pretend that she was dancing for a crowd. She'd pretend that the world loved her just as she was. Unfortunately, the real world was not as kind as her pretend one. The neighborhood kids laughed, and it was more than just teasing. It was pushing and shoving and fists against soft flesh. And it was a boy, only 13 years old, but still older than her, holding her down and telling her to be quiet. So she stopped. She stopped wearing dresses, she stopped speaking out, and she stopped twirling. But she never stopped dreaming. Years later, she found herself in the New York City and found the dresses that had been taken from her. She scavenged thrift stores, she borrowed from friends, she adorned herself in colors and flowers, blooms picked from the discarded flowers in the flower district. She made beauty out of what others had thrown away. She was radiant and she was happy. As it likely is sometimes, happiness wasn't enough. Every job interview ended in rejection. Every door closed before she could step inside, each slamming more resoundingly than the last, often with slurs hurled at her back as she walked away. It was nothing she hadn't heard before, and unfortunately, it was nothing new. Across the entire city of New York, those like her were facing the same. The country itself was boiling with such sentiments. To politicians, they were security risks to be weeded out. To the police, they were deviants infecting the youth. To doctors, they were sick in need of a cure. To her, she was just a person who wanted to live, a person who no longer wanted to pretend. Yet the world only wanted her gone. And many of her friends, young hopefuls who, like the girl, like all of us, dreamed of a better life, dreamed of love and friendship, and dreamed of making a difference, the world had taught them it was not a place for such dreams, not for them. Each harsh lesson, a slur hurled across the street, the silence of a family member at the end of the phone line, the slam of a police baton against a vulnerable back, chipped away at that hope. It chipped away at everything until finally there was only one thing left to lose: their lives. Not the girl, though. She survived. Against everything else, she survived. Survival, however, came at a cost. She had no choice but to turn to sex work. Not because she wanted to, but because the world refused her any other path. It refused her a job, refused her dignity, and refused to even acknowledge that she was there. She did more than survive, though. She gave. Like the little girl that she had once been, she danced and she sang. But now the crowd was real, and they loved her. She shone so brightly that her light cut through the darkness, showing others the way forward. Because despite everything, despite the hate and the rejection and the struggle, she kept going. She chose love. She chose to fight for others who couldn't fight for themselves. Her name, as she finally found it, as she had fought for it to be, was Marsha P. Johnson, the P standing for Pay It No Mind. A lot of you may have heard of Marsha P. Johnson, the Black trans rights activist, but given that February is Black History Month and given our current political climate, I thought she was a great individual to center this speech around. She lived during a time before Pride, before we had the flag and the terminology to describe our identities, before legal protections, and before mainstream representation. It was a time when the LGBTQI+ community was criminalized and harassed and denied even the most basic rights. Laws against so-called cross-dressing made it illegal for people like Marsha to wear clothing that aligned with their identity, effectively making their very existence a crime. These laws gave police free rein to arrest, humiliate, and brutalize them, something they did regularly with little to no consequences. Housing and unemployment discrimination meant that stability was almost impossible. Landlords refused to rent to them. Employers fired them if they dared to live openly. Even those who hid who they were could be exposed at a moment's notice. A job, a home, a safe place to sleep, things most people take for granted, out of reach. Survival often meant relying on underground economies, turning to sex work, living on the margins of society while facing the constant threat of violence from strangers, from law enforcement, from the very world that they were trying to exist in. And if they dared to search for hope, for proof that people like them could have happy endings, even that was denied. The little representation they had was often steeped in tragedy. Can you imagine such a thing? Searching so desperately for something, anything, to tell you that who you are is okay, only to find stories that end in heartbreak? The rare characters who loved like you did almost always met terrible fates. They died violently. They died by their own hand. And they spent their last moments lamenting the wrongness of their own existence. But then, of course, there were people like Marsha. People who refused to accept the world as it was. People who stood up and showed others that things could be different, that they deserved better. She, along with people like Sylvia Rivera, Harvey Milk, Barbara Giddings, and Bayard Rustin, it's not a complete list, helped spark the unstoppable. They were there during the Stonewall Uprising of 1969, and they were there for the Christopher Street Liberation Day of 1970, the first Pride Parade, when the community, tired of police raids, tired of brutality, tired of being treated less than human, fought back. Marsha's life was a testament to resilience and radical love, but the world she fought to change was slow to listen. Decades after her death in 1992, the fight for equality continued. One major victory came in 2015 with Obergefell versus Hodges, a landmark Supreme Court case that legalized same-sex marriage across the United States. The case was named after James Obergefell, a man who, like Marsha, simply wanted to live and love freely. James and John Arthur, like many young couples, had met in college, sharing a drink at a local pub. From there, their life together spanned 2 happy decades. When John was diagnosed with ALS, the two traveled to Maryland, where same-sex marriage was legal, to be wed before it was too late. But then, sadly, John passed away, and the state of Ohio, their home state, refused to recognize their marriage. Even after being together for so long, after sharing his final moment, the state marked their marriage as illegitimate. Despite his grief, the injustice of that erasure led James to fight, not just for himself, but for millions of queer people across the country. His case reached the Supreme Court, and on June 26, 2015, the ruling declared that love is love. The same-sex couples have the same right to marry as anyone else. Another victory came in 2020 in the case of Bostock versus Clayton County. Gerald Bostock works as a child welfare advocate for Clayton County, and we can all agree it's not an easy job to do. The people who do it care about what they're doing for the children they help, and Bostock definitely cared. He'd been at his job for 10 years and received multiple awards for his work, all while recovering from cancer. Clearly, though, Bostock was under some stress. His illness, and with the stress, he decided in 2013 to join Atlanta Softball League, a gay recreational sports group. By June of that year, Clayton County had fired him for conduct unbecoming a county employee. He fought back by filing a complaint with the EEOC for unlawful discrimination, and it took time, but the case made its way to the Supreme Court, which ruled that the Title VII of the 1964 Civil Rights Act prohibits employment discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. It applies to all aspects of employment, including hiring, promotion, pay, and job training. A landmark ruling, made especially significant given the Supreme Court's conservative leaning at the time. More and more queer individuals are making their voices heard. Even more recently, this happened with Sarah McBride, the first openly trans person to be elected into Congress, where she represents 50,000 individuals. This may have been the first time we heard her name, but like Marsha P. Johnson, she has been advocating in the community for years, fighting to make it better, so much so that she even won the state's highest civilian honor. Marsha P. Johnson may never have lived to see the victory of Obergefell, Bostock, or McBride. She may never have gotten to witness a world where queer rights were written into law rather than torn apart. Her legacy paved the way, though. Her defiance, her advocacy, her refusal to disappear, these are the foundations on which today's progress stands. The fight is far from over. We are living in a world where the same forces that sought to erase Marsha's existence, that sought to silence her voice and deny her humanity, still works to strip away the rights of trans people. The same forces that sought to erase the love between James Obergefell and John Arthur, that told them their love was not real, they still seek to undermine marriage equality and family protections for the queer community. The same forces that told Bostock who he loved was unbefitting of a county employee still seek to deny an individual the right to their gender identity and make discrimination the law of the land. Legal protections do remain fragile, constantly under the threat of being rolled back by those who refuse to see any marginalized group as equal. New laws target queer individuals, especially our queer youth. By restricting health care banning them from sports, and attempting to erase their identity from schools and public spaces. Hate crimes are rising. Politicians use fear and misinformation to justify discrimination, disguising cruelty as concern. And in too many places, simply existing openly as queer, the very thing that Marsha fought for, remains dangerous. But history has shown us something else. As I've talked, I'm sure that many of you have noticed the pictures here on the screen. I've chosen these pictures for two reasons. One, in today's current world, it's easy to fall for the narrative that being queer, that being trans, or being gay is a new trend. But queerness has been around since ancient time. Every form of queerness has been around since ancient time. There were trans deities, such as the Mesopotamian goddess Anan. There was, excuse me if I butcher these names, Kumnentep and Nikanum, a male couple depicted in hieroglyphics for ancient Egypt. There was Sappho, the famous lesbian poet, and even the creator of Peter Pan was rumored to be asexual. These people have been around forever. This community has been around forever. Just as importantly, though, I wanted to show these pictures show that despite the world and its cruelty, the queer community and its allies have always endured. We've always fought and we've always loved. Marsha P. Johnson did it. James Oglethorpe did it. Bostock and McBride are doing so. There's so many before us who have lived and loved and refused to be erased for who they were. We must do the same. We carry their legacy forward, not just in remembering, but in action, in standing up, in speaking out, in protecting one another. We can do this, and we've done it before. I have one slide. Let me see. The timing. Come on. I want to finish with one last slide. This is the Christopher Street Liberation Parade. This one is a current protest. They are very similar because it is similar issues we're facing with similar people coming out to support the ones they loved and the community around them. We've done it before and we can do it again. That's it.
Thank you so much. I'm a gay man, and I really related to the story. Thank you. In our tradition, congregations exist because of the generous support of members and friends. It is our privilege and our responsibility to ensure the health and future of this fellowship. To this end, your offerings to support the ministry of this fellowship, whether by pledge or donation, may be offered online. There are several ways you can give. You can mail checks to the office, drop them in our mailbox, or call the office to make other arrangements. We are also equipped to accept the Venmo app, and payments through this app should be made to UUFCC offering. If you would like your donation to apply to anything other than the operating fund, like our second helping, please indicate your intentions in the checks memo line. If you are with us for the first time today, please don't feel obligated to give. Your presence is gift enough. And now Margaret will introduce the offertory hymn.
The choir has prepared a program, a presentation of hymn number 1053, How Could Anyone? Please join us the fourth time. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you that you're anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you're less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you that you're anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you that you're less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Now it's time to highlight UUFCC's special events and activities. Please remember to check your weekly UUFCC updates. They come out on Friday, and it includes a calendar and links for connecting via Zoom or in person. Additionally, if you'd like to have fellowship events highlighted during the service, you can email the worship associates at the Book of Life at UUFCC.org. Today I have several announcements. You are all invited to a public screening of the documentary Separated, and following that a discussion. It will be held on Saturday, March 1st from 3 to 5 at the Punta Gorda Library. It's being sponsored by the Immigration Justice Committee and the Charlotte Harbor LULAC. Betty, would you stand up and tell everybody in a loud voice what those letters stand for? Everybody hear that? Yes.
Can I add something?
Yes.
It's the Punta Gorda Charlotte Library. If you put in your GPS the Punta Gorda Library, it might take you to a Jewish synagogue. Punta Gorda Charlotte Library.
Thank you for that. Now, we're calling all performers, jokesters, storytellers, poetry readers, and audience members. Please attend our fun February open mic and drum circle. It's this coming Friday at 4 p.m., and it'll be a blast. We have 3 additional fun February events this week. Today at 12:30 to 1, a Buddhist Dharma talk. It's entitled A Mustard Seed Living in Accordance with Reality. Thursday at 2, we'll have Where Have You Been? And this is basically folks getting together and talking about their trips. And Friday at 10, The Joy of Writing with prompts. And finally, I need to call Jackie up for a moment.
Hi, I'm going to be working at the auction, and I'm going to be bringing in, I get to keep money, I get to collect the money, and I give out things like, what are those things called again? What? Paddles. Yes, I knew it was paddles. Okay, so please let me know after the service, would you like to join me for paddles and money?
Please.
I would have put my name to talk, but I came in late. So there you are. It's me again, all about the auction. The auction is March 14th at 5 o'clock p.m. We are working very hard at getting stuff together. We are going to have an entree that we're still kind of talking about. And so out there, I'm going to ask you if you want to sign up for sides or dessert. I think that's probably it. Also, I have a table out there to start selling tickets. They go on sale. My only thing is, when you are looking at the Friday update, keep scrolling. Keep scrolling because the auction is way down there. And there's lots of information about the auction that I'm sharing with you, but it just gets, taken to the end. If you have any questions, I'll be out there selling tickets. Probably some other people will, and I know Jackie and other people will be soliciting stuff from people. And I thank you for your allowing me to jump in on this. Thanks. What time for what? The auction is at 5 o'clock on March 14th.
Our closing words today are by Kathleen McTeague. I had the joy of meeting her on several occasions in my younger days. Her parents were members of the UU church that I went to up north. May the light around us guide our footsteps and hold us fast to the best and most righteous that we seek. May the darkness around us nurture our dreams and give us rest so that we may give ourselves to the work of our world. Let us seek to remember the wholeness of our lives, the weaving of light and shadow in this great and astonishing dance in which we move. Our closing hymn is number 415. It's the last song in the Gray Book. And would you like to?
The song is it's a Hebrew song. It's pronounced Hevenu Shalom Aleichem. Hevenu Shalom Aleichem. And it means we brought peace upon you. And we started slow. And it doesn't stay slow, though. Okay. Please stand in, what was it? In body and spirit.
Or spirit. We're not finished yet, folks. And now, as Randy extinguishes the chalice, please read the printed recitation in your order of service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of hope, the fire of commitment, or the warmth of community. May these ideals shine in our lives and warm our hearts until we are together again. Go now in peace. And remember, turn your phones back on. Shalom.